Philippians 4:8 says to think on these things. Before I get started, I'd like to invite you to sow into any of these ministries. So if anything you see or hear benefits you or blesses you in any way, partner with us by sowing into these ministries. We could use your support. What I want to talk about is this thing called pornography. You know, there's a big debate today about pornography, even in the church. Is it legitimate? Is it a sin? Is it a victimless crime? Does what you see affect you? Is it a legitimate outlet? Is masturbation a sin? And they go on and on and on. Is it therapeutic? Is it recreational? And we've been doing a sexual integrity class for many years. And even before that, we could have answered this question. It just takes a little bit of common sense. First of all, I'd like to begin with, let's just look at the definition of pornography from Webster's, and understand it's a compound word. The compound word has to do with porn plus graphics, or graph. It's a compound word, porn and graph. Porn comes from the Greek word porneia, which means illicit, ungodly, deviant, sinful, immoral, idolatrous, whorish sex. Okay, that's just what fornication means. So porn equals all of that. And then graph is an illustration, a drawing, or a picture. So now you put those two definitions together. Illicit, sinful, illegitimate, ungodly, whorish, adulterous images of sex. Really, we need to explain this and debate this and figure out if this is right or wrong? Pornography is absolutely wrong. It's we've met too many people, especially in the last few years. We've met so many people in our ministries that have struggled with this issue of pornography, marriages, individuals, and we've seen so many women here of late in the last maybe 3 or 4 years who have given up on their marriages because their husbands were addicted to pornography. And these wives ultimately will say, I cannot compete with pornography. I will not compete with pornography. And so, come on, common sense tells us that this pornography is destructive. Now, what we have to figure out is, well, why is it destructive? I like to connect the dots so we can kind of figure out, well, why is this thing so destructive? What's wrong with it? Now, pornography doesn't have to be magazines, or just that internet videos and things like that. Pornography can be in music. Pornography can be in the way people dress. Pornography can be in movies and commercials, advertisements. So don't think that when we're talking about this issue of pornography that we're just talking about that video on the internet and stuff like that and these magazines. There's two messages that pornography attempts to convey. Number one, if you've seen any kind of pornography, particularly on the internet, it suggests that women secretly crave sex as much as men do, physical sex as much as men do, and that's a lie. That's a total lie. And some of you are thinking, well, you don't know the women I've been with. If you run into some of them women, then she's probably damaged goods. Women do not think about sex the way men think about sex. We know this. Men are clearly more visual and physical. Women are clearly more emotional, and they're into the hug and the romance. And so, but when you see pornography on video, on screens, or in magazines, it lies to you and tells you that she's a freak and she's got to have it. That's just not true. That's just not true. The second message that pornography attempts to convey is that you can have sex without love. God did not design us to have sex absent of love. Love is supposed to be a part of sex. But a lot of times we think, well, it's recreational, it doesn't have to be love. And so what I'm saying is, if you take love out of the sexual relationship, then immediately, some of you guys know what I'm talking about, immediately you're going to find it's frustrating, it's not fulfilling. Now, I'm not saying that, you got to go Don Juan DeMarco, you husbands, every time you're with your wife, you got to go Don Juan DeMarco and lay down the romance and all this other stuff. What I'm saying is the foundation of any sexual relationship has to be love. And if it's not there, anytime you have a relationship that has sex without love, you will be frustrated. You will be disappointed. You will be lacking something, and you'll know it that you're lacking something. Another thing about pornography promotes masturbation. It just does. I mean, who looks at pornography and doesn't feel tempted or want to go masturbate? Matter of fact, that's the goal for the most part of looking at pornography, so you can go and masturbate and please yourself. Masturbation is very self-centered. It's about pleasing myself. It's about me. I need a release. I need to do this. I need to be fulfilled. I need pleasure. And so I looked up the original Latin definition of that word masturbation, and it comes from two words: manus, which means hand, and a word named stuprare, which means to defile. And so the definition of masturbation originally meant to defile yourself or to abuse yourself with your hand. It meant self-abuse. And so they knew something back then. Today they're twisting that definition around to mean recreational and therapeutic, and it's a bunch of baloney. Also, I want you to understand that there are 5 stages of pornography. I've come up with the acronym IDEA with an extra A. IDEAA. First of all, there's the introduction stage. That's the first time you saw pornography. Most guys can remember the first time they saw it. And once you're introduced to it, it's like Pandora's box. It gets you. It's like a fishing hook. And now it's got you. And so we remember when we were first introduced to it. The second stage is this desensitization stage, which means that what you saw initially, it's not good enough anymore. You need to see more. You need to go farther, and your parameters begin to expand, and so you become desensitized to what you originally saw, and you need more. It's like that that itch that you can't fully scratch, and so it's that appetite that you can't fully feed, and so you're desensitized, which leads to the third stage, which means there's escalation. Escalation means not only do you need to see more, now you need to spend more time doing it, which means what begins to happen as pornography escalates in your life, particularly you married men, as pornography escalates, your relationship with your wife de-escalates. And so you're disconnecting from your wife and connecting more to pornography. I'll talk about that later. And so you have the introduction stage, the desensitization stage, the escalation stage, and then you have the addiction stage, where you run to it, you're addicted to it, you gotta have it. Matter of fact, you begin to itch and crave it, and if you don't have it, then you become irritated and miserable, and you lie to yourself and say, I need release, I gotta go do this thing. And matter of fact, you run to it quicker. And so this addiction stage, you start purchasing pornography on the web, you start purchasing the magazines, maybe even you go find prostitutes, whorehouses and things like that. So there's a definite escalation. And some of you know what I'm talking about, because if you look at your sexual record and look at the first time you were introduced to something sexual and to the present time, how broad your parameters have become. You know, how far you've gone with this thing. And understand that you're on a track. And when you're on that track, you go farther and farther down that track. And the end is destruction. It just is. Hopefully I'll cover that. The last stage is the most dangerous. This is where the destruction comes in. It's application. This is where what you see on screen, you actually try to apply it. And this is like, you think this is what women want, so you try to service women like this, and you think it's very impersonal. You treat a woman like an object. There's no emotions involved here, and things like child pornography, child rape, molestation, because you think that message of pornography told you that, well, she secretly craves sex, and you're doing her a favor by releasing her into her sexuality. That's a lie. That is a lie. And so, and also in this application stage, what begins to happen, this is why guys end up raping women, because they think they're doing women a favor. They think that women secretly desire sex and they gotta have it. And a portion of men believe that I'm doing her a favor because she really needs it. She's just got to have it. And so I'm just helping her out. I'm doing her a favor. Lastly, I'll share this with you. You know, you have all this talk about erectile dysfunction, and there's some confusion about, well, Viagra and all this, you know, stay power and all this other stuff. You know why men are having erectile dysfunction? You know why men are having trouble having sex with their wives? Because they're so overstimulated and oversaturated. Their mind is flooded with sexual images. When you do this, I mean, think about this. You ever been consumed with something that you can't stop thinking about it? Well, imagine every sexual thought that you're having just racing through your mind, images, thoughts, and everything flowing through your mind, and all them favorite fantasies are going through your mind. And when it's time for you to have real sex, what ends up happening, you can't turn this off, and you can't stop it. And so what ends up happening, a guy will try to grab one of them images, and he can't grasp any one image. Them images are flooding through his head, and he's trying to just grab one to hold on to it. And because he cannot grab any one given image, I mean, he's thinking about the twins, he's thinking about the cougars, he's thinking about the little girl, the little boy, he's thinking about the goats. He can't grab any little one image, and what ends up happening, he loses his erection because he has this anxiety, and he panics and he loses his erection. Now, we know guys who they says when we have sex with, when I have sex with my wife, it's hard for me to ejaculate, but I can watch pornography and I can achieve ejaculation. What's the problem? Because he gets more gratification out of that fantasy and self-stimulation than he does out of reality and a mutual love. This is just a touch of some of the things that's wrong with pornography. The bottom line here, if you're into pornography, you have all these mental images going on in your head. One, they're ungodly, they're not God approved. And we know that the consequences of sin is some form of death. Well, where's the death? It could be in your marriage, it could be in your sex life. And you guys who are messing around with pornography, you know your sex life is not being improved upon. It's getting worse. And you also know, you know, there people will tell me that every time I've masturbated, that there's some sort of sense of guilt or shame that comes immediately after masturbation. Immediately. What's that? That's your conscience, that's your spirit man telling you you're doing something wrong. Now, if you've gone so far that you no longer feel guilty or shameful about what you're doing, you're probably in a dangerous place because you're not hearing from God anymore. So the thing to do, it's a real easy cure. It's just stop. Your sexual appetite will not go away, but stop indulging yourself with pornography. Stop. Just quit. You know, get a buddy to help you. You know, just talk to him, pray with him. Say, man, I'm struggling right now, and you can use code language. Say, how the Cowboys doing? What the Cowboys are losing right now. That's code language. And say, let's go hang out. Let's go get a cup of coffee. Let's go talk. And so, because when you stop, your appetite will remain. And if you can stop for 30 days, I guarantee if you stop for 30 days, what will happen, your sexual appetite will be it's still there, and it'll be so great that you'll focus on just your wife. And all them images, you'll stop thinking about those images. So it's kind of like, this is like a sponge. And whatever you're soaking in, whether it's pornography or whether it's your wife, whatever you're soaking in, that's what you're going to be thinking about. And so it's possible to have all of your sexual thoughts and energies focus on your wife. It's very possible. All you have to do is stop the pornography and the masturbation. Now, you're going to need some help doing it. I know you're going to need some help. Get into a Bible study, get into men's groups, have a prayer time, meditation time. And the more you pour God into this, the less it's going to filter out all this ungodly sexual image stuff, and it's going to filter all that stuff out. All right? There's a lot more I can share about this. More to follow. God bless you. I'm praying for you. You can be free from this. God will give you the desire and the power to be free from this thing. You can overcome sin by the power of Jesus Christ. Philippians 4:8 says to think on these things. God bless you.